Well, good morning. Hope you had a good Labor Day weekend. Often when we have a Labor Day, we think a lot about work. Or maybe when you think of Labor Day, you think about freedom not to work. When our culture wants us to think about Labor Day, it wants us to buy a lot of stuff. So you have a bunch of Labor Day sales all over the place. And it really makes us think, what is our work for? What is the purpose? What's the meaning of work? And a lot of us, when we answer this question of what is our work for, we tend to think, well, it's so I can make a living. So I can get money to provide for my family so that we can have money for a sustainable life. We have to ask the question today, what is our work for? And particularly, what is our money for? What is the purpose of all these resources that we gain under the sun? And that is what we're going to be looking at today as we look through the book of Ecclesiastes. We're going to be asking the question, what is money for? Now, I want us to remember, as we look at Ecclesiastes gives us a very unique lens, and along with a lot of unique language. Ecclesiastes clarifies how are we to live in this world that's full of both brokenness and ruin, but also a lot of glory, where we are created upright, image bearers of God. Yet we stumble ourselves through the hardships of life. It teaches us wisdom, not like Proverbs teaches us wisdom, with principles and patterns of how things usually go. But it teaches us how do we deal with the exceptions? How do we navigate through life with these challenging exceptions? And we learn new language. We learn the language of sorrow, lament. We learn the language of cynicism. We ask the question, who can we trust? Or how can we make sense of our experience around us? And so Ecclesiastes is an appropriate book for us to ask the question, what is the meaning of money? How do we understand money and God's vision for our work and our place in this world? So before we get in, I want us to really think about how do you view money? I think for a lot of us, we so often are very occupied when we think about money. We're occupied with the idea of, well, am I going to make enough? Do I have enough money to feed a family? Do I have enough money to pay bills? And some of you just send students off to college. Do I have enough money to provide for them and to get them through their education? Some people are just thinking it's all about making more. I'm so occupied with making more so I can afford more things, so I can buy more things, so I can get that car, so I can buy that house, so I can move to that area, so I can have an identity. And so often, we don't know how to feel about money. So if you guys can open up to Ecclesiastes 5, we're going to be looking at 10 through 20, but I'm going to read verse 18 through 20. Then we'll pray. Ecclesiastes 5, 18 through 20. Behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting is to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun, the few days of his life that God has given him. For this is his law. Everyone also to whom God has given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them, and to accept his lot and rejoice in his toil. This is the gift of God. For he will not much remember the days of his life, because God keeps him occupied with joy in his heart. Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much that you've given us the gift of money, that we can use it in a way that facilitates our joy in you. Lord, I pray that you teach us how to relate with the possession that you've given to us, that we would honor you and we'd find meaning the way you describe it in the Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. There's a movie that came out in the 70s, you might be aware of. It's called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, there's a new movie that came out recently. There's a new rendition of it. I don't know how you feel about that. But this is a great story. This really is every kid's dream, that they would be able to enter into a world, a place where there's all types of chocolate, all types of candy drinks, unlimited supply, and the hope is that these kids will one day have this unlimited supply. What I find really interesting in this story is looking at these different characters and all the differences that they portray. On one side, you have Charlie, who comes from a very impoverished household. And they're not thinking about making more or being able to afford all the things they'd like to. They're thinking, how can I make a living? How can I make enough? And they're constantly wrestling with, are we going to have food for the table? And the mother, you see this tension of, is she going to be able to provide for her kid the things that he would like? And when this idea of being able to go to a chocolate factory and giving this to their son comes up, they want it. They long to provide to their child. They know that they probably won't be able to. On the flip side, you have Veruca Salt. And Veruca Salt comes from a very different world. A world where her father was a very successful business owner, made a lot of money, and he stopped business for 5 days to get her a golden ticket. And so all the workers are just rummaging through these chocolate bars just to find it, and finally he says there'll be a bonus. You'll be able to win an extra bonus of money if you find this golden ticket. She gets it, she makes it to the chocolate factory, and you can very well see her interpretation of money. What is the meaning of money? Money is made for me to get every single thing I want. And you see that how she interacts with people, how she has attitude around other things, how she's grabbing at candies, how she's sneaking candies in her pocket. But you see it most clearly when she gets in the room with the golden goose. So there's this room, and there's this goose that lays golden eggs. And of course, who wouldn't want that? An endless supply of money. You can get whatever you want. And so she gets in there and she says, Daddy, I want a golden goose. She wants it so much that she breaks off in a musical. And I'm not going to sing the whole thing, but I got to share a lot. She says, I want the world. I want the whole world. I want to lock it all up and put it in my pocket. It's all my bar of chocolate. Give it to me now. We see this song, we see this dance, and we see her dance up into the evaluator, which determines is this goose a good goose or a bad goose? And we know what the answer is, right? She's bad, all right? We kind of laugh at this because it's humorous, it's funny. We obviously see her life centered on a very greed-filled perspective towards money. It's all about wanting. It's me getting it now. She's very demanding, very entitled. Then the Oompa Loompas share a song and they say, well, actually, the reason for this is she's been spoiled. Her father has continually just showered money, give her everything she wants. And I think what's funny about this is we laugh, we look at this, we joke around about it. Oh, how demanding, that's ridiculous. Who in the world would be this selfish? But then our laugh turns inward, and we see our own attitude towards money. That we demand it now. I need money because I want the whole world. I'll not be satisfied until I finally grab a hold of every single thing my heart desires. And for some of you, that's your struggle. For some of you, you see what everyone else has. You look at other people's possessions, their car, the size of their house. You look at the size of their bank account. You look at how many bank accounts they have. And you're thinking, gosh, I just want more. I need more. If I haven't had an identity, I need to get more. But that's not what everyone feels like. That's not everyone. For some of you, money is about making much. But for some of you, money is about making enough. Because we live in a world where there's no such thing as a free lunch. And lunches are getting more and more expensive as time goes on. And there's bills to pay. There are people to take to college. There are so many things that we have to afford. And all of these, we need to understand what is money for? And how do we relate to money in general? And so that's the question of the sermon. As we look at the text in Ecclesiastes 5, we want to ask, what do we get from money? And are we pursuing money in the right manner? So read with me Ecclesiastes 5, verse 10. It says this, he who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is a vanity. So we see in the very beginning of this text that one way we use money, one way we look at money is we want to find satisfaction in content. We want to have a full stomach, is the sense here. But can money truly give us this sense of satisfaction? Can it really satisfy in this way? Well, this is where Solomon takes us in verse 11. He begins by saying, when goods increase, they increase who eat them. And what advantage has their owner but to see them with his eyes? So we look at this text and we say, okay, money's increasing, they have a bigger portfolio, more money in their pockets, and then people are just eating. So instantly when we see this text, we think maybe robberies happen. Maybe there are people that are breaking in their homes, stealing their finances, and taking away their goods. But this is a very individualistic understanding of what money is for. We tend to think about money for our own personal consumption or the consumption of our family, but an Israelite understanding of money is not money for personal consumption, but for the consumption of the community. Deuteronomy 15:7 says, if among you one of your brothers should become poor, in any of your towns within your land that the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not harden your heart or shut your hand against your poor brother, but you shall open your hand to him and lend him sufficient for his need, whatever it may be. So we see in Israelite understanding, consumption, money is not for our personal consumption only, but it's that the whole community would have their needs provided. And so what happens to our money? We get a lot of resources, we have needs, the community knows we have these resources. And if you're an Israelite who is pursuing God and honoring God with your money, you're giving it away to the community. You're providing for the needs of the poor. And we see this everywhere. We see the homeless in our streets walking around, needing a place to live, needing food. We see the needs of our family. Many of us have someone in our family that has truly a lot of needs, and they need support. We see needs in the other world. We see needs in other countries. We see needs among these many refugees or trying to find a home. And so as we have resources, they so easily go away. Others consume them, and we don't enjoy them ourselves. We're not truly finding satisfaction because our resources are being spilled out to other places. And if our money is not being consumed by others, our money is so easily consuming us. We go on to the next verse, verse 12. It says, "Sweet is the sleep of a laborer, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich will not let him sleep." And here we see the pattern of how work was meant to be. We're meant to work diligently and sleep deeply. That God has put in His creation order this kind of pattern of laboring, of doing good work in God's creation, and being renewed and restored through sleep. But you see, the problem here is that the rich, those who are fully satisfied, their stomachs are full, they can't sleep. And some people think that this is a play on words that, your mom, you've heard your mom say it, right? Don't eat with a full stomach. Don't go to bed with a full stomach. Because what happens when you go to bed with a full stomach? You wake up with a tummy ache, you can't go to bed, your stomach's digesting as you're trying to sleep, and it keeps you up. But why would we have such a hard time sleeping when we have all this money? We have all the resources in the world. Why would that hinder your sleep? Well, I think the reality is the more money you have, the more responsibilities you have. The more things to pay for, or even the more people that have needs are asking and begging you for help. And so whatever it is we see here, that those who are looking for money to satisfy, they're utterly pulled in different ways. They struggle with sleep because of anxiety, because of the needs of others around them. And Dillish says this, "The fullness of possession, which the rich at his disposal does not permit him to sleep. For all kinds of projects, cares, anxieties regarding this rise within him, which follow him into the night, and do not suffer his mind to the unrest, which is a condition of sleep." So how can we even find sleep? Well, we see so clearly, even in the Sabbath, the Lord our God is still working. He's at work in this world. So we can rest content. We can find that rest. In the history of America, there's probably no one that was more rich, no one who had more money than John Rockefeller. By 1879, he controlled 90% of the oil industry in our nation. And he did this by offering cheaper supply of oil, by refining it at cheaper rates, and a lot of people lost business. Their companies were sold over to Rockefeller because of this. And so Rockefeller actually had a good bit of enemies in the oil industry. He hurt a lot of people, and many would say he was a ruthless man. His Reverend Freddie Gates gave him advice. He said, "Mr. Rockefeller, your fortune is rolling up like an avalanche. You must distribute it faster than it grows. If you do not, it will crush you and your children and your children's children." And so Rockefeller decided he needed to find some way to give this money away, to provide money for other people according to their needs. But he was so overcome by the realities of the needs around him, he had 50,000 to 60,000 letters a month of people asking him for money. He had numerous people that would even come to him when he exited his office, begging for money, helping, saying, we need to consider things too. We need money. We have needs. And this stressed him out so much that he was the point of absolute breakdown. He says, "I investigated and worked for myself almost to a nervous breakdown," he said. "I'm groping my way through the ever-widening field of philanthropy." He was so stressed, he was so sleepless because of the weight and anxiety that his money created for him, that ultimately he retired, giving his job over to his sons. The big idea here is that money was not made for our personal satisfaction. It will not satisfy us. So what about us? How do we look at this? Are you inconvenienced by the needs of others? When you think about your money and the needs of others, and you see the homeless person on your street, or you hear that family person calling you and begging you for money, are you inconvenienced? Because reality is there are people that need resources. There are those that have real needs, and that's a chance for us to be a blessing to them. And how is your sleep? Do you find yourself struggling with sleep? Do you have a hard time even getting to bed out of fear and anxiety over, do I have enough money? I know my wife and I so often, me particularly, have a hard time getting rest. Because I'm thinking, seminary's about to end. Am I going to get a call? Am I going to have a job that's going to supply the resources I need to afford my lifestyle? But what about you? Why do you feel anxious about your life? How does it affect your personal experience? I would submit to you that if we look to money to satisfy us, we'll find ourselves utterly dissatisfied. So what is money for? If not for satisfaction, could it be to secure us? Could it be something that was meant to not give us an abundance of joy or satisfaction, something that was supposed to give us safety? But that's where we go next in the text. Verse 13 says, "There is a grievous evil that I have seen under the sun, which riches were kept by their owner to his hurt. And those riches were lost in a bad venture. And he is the father of a son, he has nothing in his hand. As he came from his mother's womb, he shall go again, naked as he came. He shall take nothing for his toil that he may carry away in his hand." And so what's money for? What's the purpose of it all? We see here that there's a picture of this guy who's hoarded all this money. He stored up barns and barns of money. You hear some echoing of Jesus' parable of the foolish rich man. He stored up barns and barns of money, and his biggest concern was, I need to build another barn so I can store more money. The reality is, we so easily lose the money that we gain. We have no clue. We're so out of control. Have you ever thought about how little control you have of your life, even over your own resources? Just recently, we had a stock scare where the stocks were going down, and there's a bunch of fear in our society. People are freaking out. Am I going to have a retirement? And maybe some of you in this congregation are looking at your portfolios and you're thinking, I might not be able to live in 10 years with the sustenance that I have in my own portfolio. And so people make quick decisions and they sell stocks too early and they make all these big decisions ahead of time. The reality is we have no clue. We can easily lose what we have. And if we don't lose it in a bad venture, then we might lose it, or we will lose it. Everyone will lose it the day they die. And this is what he's telling us. So he's trying to correct us and help us to see that if money is the meaning of your life, and the day you die, you lose meaning. Meaning dies and is buried with you in the grave. Because ultimately we will return to where we came. We will not take our money with us. What's going to matter is not the portfolio that we have, but the person we know. And do you know the Lord your God? Do you have a relationship with Him? Are you connected to Him? Because ultimately knowing Jesus and knowing God because of the work of Christ is what's going to carry you on to eternity. Not your portfolio, not how much money you have. We're reminded of Jesus' statement in Matthew 6:19, when He says, "Do not lay up for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroy, where thieves not break in or steal." The sad thing in this verse is we see that not only can we lose it all, our finances and our life, but we could lose our very self in the process. The text ends and it says here that ultimately the life that is lived for finances, for security in your money, leaves us eating in darkness alone, and in much vexation, sickness, and anger. There is a financial crisis in 2008. In 2008, there was a huge despair. Many people had to foreclose their homes. Many people lost their homes. And among one of these women was Sheila Ramos. Sheila Ramos had very little cares in her life. She had 2 kids. One was married and had 3 grandchildren. But very soon, her sons, her daughter, these 2 kids, they got in trouble with drugs. And they lost custody of their children, so she took on these 3 grandchildren. So now she had a very insecure situation. She had to think not only how do I provide for myself, but how do I provide for the kids under me. And just then, a car came around the corner and hit her car. And so she is stuck with 3 kids, a broken arm, hurt back, and also her mother was in the car with her, who has a hurt back. She has financial needs beyond understanding. She couldn't have called us. She didn't lose her life, but she lost her livelihood. And when she went back to work, she wasn't able to work as she could have, because she worked in a very physical job that made concrete vaults for companies. So she lost employees, she lost jobs, she lost her work, and she ultimately had to move down to Florida and use the money that she bought from her parents' sold house to live. Eventually, long story short, she had to carry out more loans and more loans because of her inability to work. It got so bad that she had to sell her home and move to Hawaii and live in a tent by herself. Sheila Ramos is just one of many people who know the insecurity that life can bring. We never know. We don't know what can come our way. And if we make money and the security that we get from money our hope, our significance, it will easily fall through our hands and run out to nothingness. And so what about you? Are you looking for money to be your security? Maybe you think that your security is found in having a bank account that's full of money, having all the resources you need. Maybe you have security in a family member who has helped provide for you or support for you. When I was on staff at campus ministry, I constantly felt the support of others. And it was such a terrifying thing to think, will this person continue to support? Will they still stay on my team? Maybe you find your security in a certain job, in a job that you've loved and you've enjoyed and you've had income and it's been great. Well, it doesn't take long to realize that none of our jobs are certain. Who knows how long it will last? Or maybe you're thinking now you're about to head towards retirement and your kids are doing well financially. They'll support you, they'll care for you. And all these are options. We can find security, and it's possible you can end in the rest of your life and you can be well provided for to the end. But I'll tell you one thing is none of those things will save you from the grave. Every single one of us will return one day to where we came. And the question on that day will not be the profit you earned, the person you know. So what then? Should we not think about money at all? If money's not going to give us satisfaction, if money really can't ultimately secure us, it's not going to take us beyond the grave. So what, do we become stoic? Do we say, well, money's worthless or it's empty? Or do we just not focus at all on it? Do we just turn our mind off about money? And I would argue that's not the calling of this text. Where this text leads us is to verse 18. See, the problem is we've looked at money as a goal. We've looked at money as a thing that we look to give us life. But money has never been created as a goal for your life. It's never been something that we're meant to achieve as an end in itself. But God has given us money, and we see here in this text, as a gift. As a gift. And I think it's interesting that you look in the previous text, you see this mention of naked I came to the world, naked I'll return. That should be an indicator of someone that someone should come to mind, and that should be Job. In Job 1:21, he made this very statement himself. When he lost everything, what was his response? Job said, naked I came from the womb, naked I'll return. And we see the key to how are we to understand our place in this world? How are we to understand even money in God's big picture? What is the place of money? Job says, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And Job wasn't undone. He did not absolutely give up his faith in God. He did not absolutely curse God like Satan thought he would. Because Job ultimately said, I'm not entitled to this money. I'm not the owner of this money. The money was given as a gift. My whole life was given as a gift from God. And so he realized that the worship of God, knowing this God who has graciously given him the things he's given, is more worthy of our worship than the value and worth of our profit. A lot of us might not respond that way. We think, money's not a gift. Money is something that I earned, that I work hard for, that I am entitled to. If it's not me who's earned this money, then why would I not get it? Why would I not desire it? Why would it not be my right? What we see in the text in Ecclesiastes 5:18, that our only way to find true and lasting enjoyment in money is to realize this is not just something that we get or get rid of our teeth that we earn, but it really is a gift given by God. Because God has designed us, God has framed us and shaped us. He's given us each individual gifts and abilities. And even our ability to learn, to grow, and to do great things in this world is because of God's gracious hand in giving us the design that He's made us with and the gifts that we have. And so the only thing that's going to truly carry us to the end, even if we lose it all, if we lose every single thing, is that our hearts are occupied with joy in our heart. We realize that every single thing we have comes from the law. It's a lot from the Lord. It's God's provision. It's the way that God has designed us, the things that God has blessed us with, given us. And we can truly have a joy that endures. In Deuteronomy 8:17 says, beware, lest you say in your heart, my power, in my might, in my hand, have gotten me as well. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get well, that he may confirm his covenant that he swore to your fathers, as it is this day. And so if we go back to the Ecclesiastes 5 verse, we see that ultimately our wealth, our money, it's a gift. But in this text, in Deuteronomy 8, there's this temptation of when the Israelites were in the land, when things were going well, when they were enjoying all the benefits of their hard labor, that they would forget. They would forget that it's God that's provided for them. It's God that has given them the wealth, the ability to do the things they've been able to do. It's God that provided for them the land. And the reason why we are who we are, the reason why we are where we are, the reason why you're born in the house that you're born is because God, our great God, has been sovereignly working his will, providing for you personally. And so don't forget, brothers and sisters, that your gracious God has given you the gift of money. And what does that mean for us practically? Well, it means that if God has given us the gift of money, given us certain abilities that we can do the things that we've been called to do in this earth, given us certain privileges that we've been born into so that we can have opportunities. If he's given it, then ultimately God, our gracious God, is our provider. And because God is gracious to us, we should be occupied by the reality of God's grace. And how do we respond to that? Well, first is thanksgiving, thankfulness. We don't look at our bank account and look at it and say, look what I've done. Look all the things that I've accomplished with my abilities. We should first be asking that question, why? Why do I have this paycheck before me? It's because I worked hard. Yes, it's because you worked hard. But why can you work hard? Because God has given you a mind that is able to comprehend, to learn, to grow. He's given you arms and legs. He's given you breath. Every single day we breathe. God gives us life and breath and everything else. And so every paycheck is a sign. It's a pointer that points us to the graciousness of God. Therefore, we should be thankful. We should be thankful to God for all the things that we have. But also, we should be dependent upon God. We should depend on the Lord and plead, Lord, would you continue to provide for our needs? Lord, you know my needs. You know my struggle. You know the needs of our family. Would you continue to provide? Lord, you know the day that I lost my job. Would you provide another job? It leads us to a place of dependency because we realize that all money, all wealth, ultimately is a gift from God's hand. But it also means that we're stewards. If money is a gift from God, then we're not called to do with money whatever we want to. But God has made us a steward of these resources that he's given to us. He has called us to use money not in ways that are self-serving, but in ways that are honoring to him, to be a blessing to others. Kind of reminded here of our purpose in this world. That God blesses us not just so we can consume, but that we would be a blessing to other people. And so we need to begin asking, how can I steward this money for the goodness of God's kingdom and needs in this world? But we might be confused here at times. When we look at money, we might think that all of life is just about material blessings, just about getting as much as I can so I can even provide for myself or others. But the reality is our greatest debt is not simply financial. Our greatest debt is not simply that we don't have enough money to pay for a bill, or not enough money to pay for books, or not enough money to pay for a house, not enough money to pay for the semester. Our greatest debt before God is our very sin. If we look at the Lord's Prayer, it says, forgive us our debts. The reality is every single one of us has incurred a huge debt before God because we haven't lived according to His standards. We owe it to God to live our lives in utter obedience and worship of Him. But we have failed to do that in so many ways. In Colossians 2 shares what our biggest debt before God truly is. It gives us clarity of how can we get out of this debt. How can we know this person? Because we said before that it's not about the profit you get, but the person you know. And Colossians 2 says this. Colossians 2:13. And you who were dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of and in the uncircumcision of your flesh, God made alive together with him, having forgiven us all our trespasses by canceling the record of debt that stood against us with its legal demands. This he set aside, nailing it to the cross. He disarmed the rulers and authorities and put them to open shame by triumphing over them in him. The beautiful message of the gospel is that we do have a debt before God. We have failed in so many ways, and our biggest anxiety should not be, can we pay for this thing or that, but what am I going to do with this debt before God? In the gospel, we see that Jesus himself cancels our debt before God. Because life is not just about the profit we gain, but the person we know. And how can we connect with God? How can we know God? How can we persevere in knowing him? Well, it begins with having our debt paid. And if you're in this room today and you don't know God, and you feel like you're so disconnected and there's no way that you can pay your debt, every other religion says, pay your fines. Find a way. Find some way to pay your fines. Through religious activity, through knowing certain people, through working hard morally, through cleaning up sexually, through even becoming a better steward of your money. And this message is not about being a better steward of your money so you can give better things. It's about knowing a certain person. Jesus has paid for your debt. You don't have to earn your debt. You don't have to pay it off with your own efforts. But the beautiful thing here is it says that that debt is obliterated because Jesus paid for it through his life, death, and resurrection. And so what's the meaning of our money? It points us back to our original purpose. It points us back to who we are as image bearers, created to be a blessing to others. The meaning of money is that we would know the God, the giver of money, the God of all grace. Because God is gracious to us. He's graciously given us money. We should be occupied with this grace and know this Savior, the person of Jesus. Pray with me. Father, we thank you so much for the beauty of the gospel, that we have a Savior who has paid our greatest sin. Lord, as we're struggling, as we're trying to consider what are we to do with our life, and Father, would you point us to the Savior who's died for us, who has paid for us, so that we would not find our identity, our significance, our whole person in what we know, so that we would see our identities in Christ. And would you free us as people who use our money in the way that you designed us to be a blessing to others. We love you, Lord Jesus.